the NCAA, there's no reason to believe it won't be a high number once again in a couple of weeks.
The ACC has been dominant, and they have 4 individuals who can legitimately win the national championships in Minneapolis in March.
And when that calendar flips to March, that means one thing: the ACC Wrestling Championship this year heading to the Steel City.
The most dominant wrestler in the NCAA.
Suited and booted, I'm ready for war. Put the pedal to the floor.
What a athlete, what a great champion.
Back down. When it's go time, I waste no time. Tell them go and cut the cord. And they just keep telling me more.
They've been visualizing this moment all season long and beyond.
Duke will give up 2 forfeits tonight. The first one at 125, where North Carolina staged Jacob Camacho, the good-looking redshirt freshman, fresh off that impressive win against Joey Prada last week. Camacho to give the Wolfpack an early 6 in this regular season finale between NC State and Duke. Both these coaches took over these programs 8 years ago. Both pipelines run deep into Stillwater. For Pat Popolizio, he wrestled for John Smith. He was a 3-time All-American for the Cowboys. While on the opposite side, for Glenn Lanham and the Duke Blue Devils, Lanham was actually a teammate of head coach John Smith back during the Cowboy dominance. So Popolizio, year number 8. Lanham also in his 8th year. And this has been a tough year for Glenn Lanham, but make no mistake about it, they had a feeling this was the type of season that they were going to be faced with when the Fine Silver brothers decided to redshirt. Caden Russell utilized his Olympic redshirt, so he was bracing for a youth movement this year, and they're just re-bracing for next year now.
And what makes Glenn a great coach is that he has a vision. And even though things look a little challenging right now, there is a vision. And when you have someone who has a vision, people can follow.
So we go to 133. Jarrett Trombley, the redshirt freshman, he's a Michigan native, matched up against Harrison Campbell, the junior for Duke. Campbell comes in 2-20 on the year. Trombley on the record of 17-7, and he had that stirring win last week against Girardi of Virginia Tech in a similar type move where he took Girardi to his back. He does the same here with Campbell.
Good underhook, over and under. Came in and tossed him. Didn't get any back points, but he's going out there trying to duplicate what he did last week and getting a fall.
Trombley, one of those competitors who each week just seems to be getting more and more confidence built. Switches to that front headlock, trying to spin his way around, driving the front head of Campbell down. Good job by Harrison Campbell to fend it off.
That front headlock that he had when he tied the head and wrapped the arm around, that was similar to what he did last week. Well, actually identical to what he did last week against Colin Girardi. Cinched the cradle and got the fall. So it looks like Campbell has been scouting that front headlock position to a cradle.
Looks like we are in a delay as they try to make an adjustment to riding time. I believe they're going to add some riding time. Get the clock measured up as well. Head official tonight is Eric McGill. Scott Lindsley. A try there by Campbell on the possible throw attempt, but Trombley stays with him.
Trombley's going right back to that underhook. So he's isolating the right side of Campbell, and then he attacks that right side, looking to finish this single.
In a pretty good position to do that. And Trombley goes up 4-1. Looking for a quick tilt, but Campbell able to pop back up, get his momentum back to his feet, and he's away with the escape.
You know, Trombley, even though he's up, he's got to watch himself, because that's the second time that he tried to do what's called a tilt. And when he tried to tilt Campbell, Campbell was able to elevate his hips.
Thought that might be 2. You see the right foot drag by Campbell trying to get the 2 toward the edge. They'll let the wrestling continue until that foot goes out or until the competitor, in this case Trombley, was close to that scorer's table. Brick comes in as well from Glenn Lanham. And Rock, this is going to be a challenge for Duke. They want 2.
In that situation, there can be what's called a standing reversal. That is when the bottom wrestler gets behind the top wrestler. He doesn't necessarily have to bring him to the mat, but it looks like it could be a standing reversal. So let's see that. There was a little lateral drop here, little roll, little motion.
What do you think? So when you have the standing reversal, what are you looking for to establish that call?
Well, first of all, he needs to be standing up. And when he came behind him, he got the legs, but it looks like Trombley's knees didn't touch the mat. So at that point, if anything, you would consider that as a loss of control, meaning that Trombley doesn't have control and the official can award 1 point as an escape or a loss of control. But in that scenario, I don't believe that it was a standing reversal, because as Campbell spun around, he did not stand. He dropped down and didn't get control.
Each team is given one challenge brick to utilize throughout the course of the night. If they win the challenge, they get the brick back. If they don't win it, they lose it. We're about to find out what Eric McGill decided. Duke loses the challenge. Score remains 4-2. .45 seconds to go, first period. Couple of takedowns by Jared Trombley.
Looks like Trombley's going right back to that underhook.
Sticks it in hard, that left arm underhook for Trombley. Utilized a red shirt last year after winning 4 state championships in Michigan, Lake Fenton High School. Comes in on that leg again. Has time to work. Whizzer being applied by Campbell, trying to sneak that right elbow in as a defense mechanism. Pretty good position, though, as Trombley slips away from that. No points awarded yet. Trombley trying to get 2 toward the end, and no points given. Good job by Campbell to fend off what was a pretty deep shot.
Really good job, because it looks like Trombley was about to get a takedown, but it looked like Campbell did a little dive through and kept it in a neutral position without exposing himself for a danger call.
Harrison Campbell bumping up a weight from 125 a year ago. Struggled at 25 last year, finding the weight. 33 more natural for him. Tries to go with the cross-body right. Has the leg in. Tripod position by Trombley.
Both guys need to work here. And Campbell decided to release as opposed to get a stall call. You know, Sean, when we were talking to Coach Popolizio, we said after such a high win last week against Virginia Tech, what are you doing to keep your guys excited? Because Duke certainly hasn't had the season that they wanted to. And Pop pretty much said we'll soon find out. And you wonder, Trombley, who had such a big pin last week, you know, is he going to have a letdown? But it looks like he's going back to that cradle that he had last week.
He has the cradle, and he has it tight. And he has Campbell on the ropes.
He's got to readjust. At this point, Campbell's shoulder is high.
Trombley trying to readjust his position, knee up into the chin. And that's just too tough to hang on to. So he won't get the fall. Campbell stays off his back. He'll get the 4 near fall points, and just like that, it balloons up to 11-2. With the quick escape by Campbell. Trombley was part of the talented recruiting class. That's what Popolizio has been able to do. He has strung together strong recruiting class after strong recruiting class, and Trombley fits right in that bill. He was a perfect 59-0 his senior year, capturing a Division III state title at 130 in Michigan. In fact, he set a national record for single-season takedowns with over 550.
He goes right back to that underhook. And with the underhook, he snaps down and goes right to the cradle. Same thing that he did last week. Seemed like that's where he's strong.
Trombley in control, 11-3. And you start thinking big picture a little bit, Rock. In a couple of weeks, we head to Pittsburgh for the championships. 133 is an area, if NC State can get some points from Trombley, that is going to be huge for what they want to do in the Steel City.
You need points from everyone in every weight class. So right now, even though Trombley is dominating, he wants to ensure that he gets the bonus points, because bonus points can make the difference between first and second place, second and third. So while he has this match under control, mentally he has to realize, I have to learn to stay on top and to ensure that I get a bonus point. And he's doing a good job right now.
He's getting the points. Had the leg trap, torqued the body back. Goes up 15-3. He's into the major decision category. If he can get one more turn, he might end this one early. Trying to get into the technical fall in wrestling. There's the major decision, which is worth 14 points. The tech fall 5, and then the fall worth 6 points. Working off the arm bar series.
Both guys are working hard. Working hard. Harrison Campbell is trying not to give up a technical fall, and Trombley certainly try to earn a technical fall. Technical fall is when you win by 15 points or more.
That return by Trombley into a quick tilt. He got the 1 count, but Campbell fighting to the end, able to slip away. But this match belonging to the redshirt freshman, Jarrett Trombley. Trombley has won 2 straight matches after narrow losses to Pitt and North Carolina during the dual season. A 1-point win against Prada last week of Virginia Tech. And now a major decision win for Jarrett Trombley against Harrison Campbell. Shake of the hands, bonus points for the Wolfpack. NC State looking to go unbeaten. A big reason for their success has been the emergence of young talent. Jarrett Trombley, a bunch of points for the Red. They've cleared the roads around Raleigh and Durham from all that ice and snow last night. So tomorrow we'll be in Raleigh. Number 8 Florida State takes on NC State at 4 o'clock right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. The Noles are currently tied with Duke, a half game back from Louisville for the top spot in the ACC. Glenn Lanham is always going to go down fighting for his team, and it took only a couple of bouts for him to get involved tonight.
Well, he threw a brick out there to question a reversal. And then secondly, at the end of the match, he went over to the official and then asked him, in a polite way, of course, some questions about something that happened. As a result, he was warned for questioning the judgment, which is different than control of the mat. Control of the mat is when a team, a coach, or team members are a little belligerent, and if a wrestler or the official says it's been control of the mat, that's a team deduction. So this was just questioning. This was not control of the mat.
149 after the forfeit win for Tariq Wilson. It's North Carolina State up 16-0, and here comes A.J. Lighton. Lighton matched up against the true freshman Wade Unger of Duke, and Lighton in on some early offense. Switches to a double and has the 2.
I'm sure A.J. Lighton is looking to get that sour taste out of his mouth from last week's match, and so far he's come out like he's ready to make some damage.
149 has been a really open competition inside that wrestling room for Pat Papalizio. Lighton and also Matt Grippy have been the 2 main athletes that he has turned to, but it appears that Lighton has the late season momentum. Trap arm, and he's getting the count.
Beautiful. You saw it coming. He blocked the back of the knees, and it was legal, and he went right into a tilt position. Really good top work. And you can see the official still holding it because the top man still had the arm, and he felt that the bottom wrestler was not out of a dangerous position. But then once he released the arm, then the official waved and gave the 4-point near fall. Really good top wrestling by Lighton.
We saw him working what we call that ball and chain, where that arm comes in between the legs. Still has wrist control, riding comfortably halfway through this first period.
Looks like he's going to do a roll through tilt from here. He's going to go either the left side or just roll through to the right side. What Unger needs to do here is use his left hand to peel that hand off of his wrist.
He's using that hand now more as a stabilizer to prevent the turn. But like you said, now in those instances where you don't feel that momentum of the turn coming, Leighton gives up on that idea. See him thinking of which way to go, and Unger able to get to his feet, but unable to get away.
When that 4-point near fall came into being a rule several years ago, it's really changed the dynamic. When you're down by 6 points, certainly you can come back, but it's just a lot more work. And you say it's only 1 point difference, that's a lot in wrestling.
Leighton, a first-year starter for the Wolfpack.
Leighton's doing a good job of getting wrist control. Wrist control is when you're grabbing the wrist and the forearms. And when you can control the wrist and the forearms, you can generally control the body.
Strong grip, baseball-type grip around the right arm, the right wrist. There you saw Unger reach around, try to free it up, but when you do that, you're in a vulnerable spot to get turned.
This is what's so good about this tilt, is that you can either roll through, but the guy fights, you can hook them back to the other side. So the bottom wrestler just doesn't know what to do.
And there is the turn, and for the first time, he's going to get the count. I believe he gets the full 4, and he does at the end of the period. Good patience by A.J. Leighton in the last minute 30 of that match.
He kept wrist control, and he kept holding on to the forearm. He was just waiting to see what happens. If the guy defends one way, you go to another way. If the guy defends to the left side, you go to the right side. And you can see he's just controlling the hips, and then he did a little back trip and started to get that count. Really solid top wrestling.
Tough way to go tonight for Wade Unger, but it has been a bright spot for Duke at 49. He's registered the highest tournament finish. The Mountaineer invite early in the season, went 3-1 for a second place showing for this young Duke program. So much youth up and down the Blue Devil lineup, and remember, this is on the heels of Duke sending 5 NCAA qualifiers 3 times since 2015. They did it in 15 and then back-to-back in 18 and 19. So believe me, this is a blimp on the radar for Duke wrestling here in 2020.
You know what? When there's someone on a team that has success with a move or a series, you start to see other team members adopt that. And we're seeing it with the underhook. We all know that the Hidley brothers like the underhooks. But when we looked at 133, we also saw that Trumley was forcing the underhook. We just saw Leighton go to the underhook. So that's what's called team camaraderie. They want to share ideas. They see someone else doing something great, let's learn. And the Hidley brothers are good team members, and I'm sure they've talked about what makes their underhook so effective.
Yeah, the Wolfpack coaches have talked about their leadership, especially Trent jumping in as a redshirt freshman and immediately catapulting to one of the team leaders. And when you watch the Hidleys and their underhooks, you don't second guess why the rest of the team wants to jump aboard. About as effective as anybody in the country for their main tie-up and setup.
Now Unger needs to move Leighton. He can't just stay lined up, but he's having a solid second period. You know, first period he had a little windfall of back points, but he's going right after Leighton.
Quick start by Unger, but then the reshoot by Leighton, and he gets 2.
Gave up points with short time. You never want to do that, but these things happen. You just got to rebound.
Yeah, I liked his idea, but he backed off. Keep going in. You see him take that shot, and then boom, right back at it was Leighton.
It's good wrestling there. You're good wrestling. One wrestler shoots, the other defends, and someone came out on top.
So for the first time, we get to see what Unger can do in the top positions. He goes to work, not for long, squirming his way out, and then immediately going into the attack. Leighton gets the one.
That was my horizon.
It's interesting when we talked to Coach Lanham in practice, he said, move your hands, move your hands. You don't want to leave your hands just on your opponent. You want to move the hands. Great snap down there. Great snap down by Leighton. He snapped Unger right down to his knees. Good opportunity here for Unger, but even better scramble by Leighton. Chess match going on right here. Leighton wants to get the tech fall. Unger wants to hold it to a regular decision.
There is quite a bit of red inside Cameron Indoor. North Carolina State traveling well, and they are making some noise, wanting their young sophomore to find a way to get one more takedown. Can he get the technical fall and the 5 team points?
This was going to be a sprint. Someone's going to sprint to get the takedown or defend the takedown. 20, 15 seconds left. Let's see what happens.
A.J. Leighton with North Carolina State's second major decision. So a couple of forfeits, 2 major decisions through the first 4 weights, and it's all Wolfpack. Hayden Hidlay getting ready to come up. He made national news with a tweet. We'll talk more about that when we return. 2-time All-American Hayden Hidlay speaks. Wolfpack Nation certainly listens, and this tweet caught the attention of a lot of college wrestling fans. Hayden tweeted after the big win against Virginia Tech. He says, I believe there has to be a way to form a dual national championship. Our resume is good enough to square off against Big Ten's best. We've been an incredible dual team the last 5 years and should be able to put it on the line. What's the harm in finding out where we stand? So Rock, give us the pros and the cons of possibly having a return to the dual national championships.
Well, Sean, the obvious pro is that you will have a clear-cut dual meet champion. Just like in the ACC, we could have a dual meet champion today straight up if NC State wins. So if you have a national duel, you have a dual meet champion. And it brings a lot of fans out. You get a lot of fans to come to dual meets. We had 4,400 when NC State wrestled UNC. Then you had Iowa had 16,000, Penn State to get 16,000. You get a lot of people there for dual meets. So those are pros, but the cons. The question is, what's the benefit? There's no reason to have another match if someone can get injured, and the real national champion is when you go to the national championship in March. Also, people can get injured. So if you have a dual meet championship, someone gets injured, and you're not even getting any benefit, why put your wrestlers in a position to get injured when you're really not getting anything from it?
So the timing has always been the big problem. The coaches debated this for so many years. When do you host or have these national duels, obviously with the attention on the NCAA individual championships?
Where do you host it? Who hosts it? Does that conflict with basketball and other sports? So there's a lot of logistics there, but one of the things that I think has been clear is that dual meets bring excitement. We saw that last week. They are very exciting when it comes to dual meets. But the question is, if there's no benefit, why even do it?
And it really is a mixed bag when you talk to coaches across the country. I was just in Stillwater last weekend. John Smith says the duels are the most important part during the course of the regular season for him because Gallagher-Iba's rocky. You know, he realizes the values of the duels during the course of the year.
And that's when you have recruits to come by too, doing dual meets. You get to see the fan base. You get to see who's there, who's good. It's really helpful, but if there is no benefit, there's a fall by Hayden Hidlay. So working light, takes down, turns, rolls the armbar, gets a fall, and still undefeated in ACC competition. This guy is on a mission, not just to win the ACC championship, but he's on a mission to win the NCAA championship. Wow, he's impressive.
He remains perfect against ACC competitors. He needed just a little bit of time tonight. A familiar sight for the Wolfpack the past 3 years. Hayden Hidley heading to Pittsburgh. All engines moving forward. The NWCA coaches poll, always an effective gauge to see where the wrestling powers are coming from. This year, the top 10, 4 Big Ten, 4 ACC, 1 Big 12, 1 Pac-12. We were just talking, hey, what would a national duals championship look like? There's your field, Brock.
And if you look at the top 8 teams, and that would be a good census, because we go to quarterfinals, semifinals, and then finals, and then we can just see who is the stronger team. And something happened. Not sure, but we're saying that, you know, if we have a national duels, we would just have it like a quarterfinals, then semifinals. You could perhaps do it the quarters and the semis on one day, and then the finals the very next day, or Friday, Saturday window. I mean, there's so many more logistics to it, but at least people are talking.
Yeah, it's good conversation. All right, Duke at 165. Ben Anderson is starting to get the Ben Anderson momentum we saw late last year for Duke. He was one of the 5 Blue Devil NCAA qualifiers. He's as strong as an ox. He is a big, strong guy. When he's wrestling with confidence, and I think more importantly, when he's healthy, he is dangerous. And that's what Glenn Lanham is hoping, that these next 2 weeks will produce another qualifying performance. Anderson had a huge win last week in the duel against Virginia. Duke actually won 3 matches against the Cavaliers, and Anderson was one of them with a fall over Cam Coy. Brock, you know as well as anybody, Coy very talented, so that's a nice win by Anderson.
Nice win, and not just a win, but when you pin someone on a collegiate level, that's very impressive. You pin someone that's a multiple-time, 3-time Pennsylvania State champion and a national qualifier, that's going to get some momentum going in your direction as you get closer to the postseason.
NC State giving some other guys opportunities tonight. In fact, the Bullard brothers will not be in singlet tonight. This is Matt Fields in on the shot. Coming over the top is Anderson, trying to grab the near side ankle, and into the waterfall he goes. Let's see how this scramble ends up.
Looks like he's going to hold the ankles, and what Fields should be doing right now is keeping his laces flat to the mat so that Anderson can't grab the ankle. But he's got to keep moving. If he doesn't, well, we got a stalemate.
Matt Fields is a redshirt freshman, 12-9 this year, Brunswick, Ohio. In there for Thomas Bowler, the 2-time NCAA qualifier.
Both guys have had good shots so far. When I say good shots, Matt Fields took a shot and got to the legs and was in a waterfall situation. And Ben Anderson has been able to control the elbows and shoot what's called a high C to the right leg of Fields.
Tried it again. The injury history of Ben Anderson and what he has had to come through despite a young age. He's only a sophomore, but he's went through 4 knee surgeries throughout his young career, trying to keep up on the conditioning and the training. Was a Utah State champion all 4 years, wrestling for Pleasant Grove, and back-to-back years for the Blue Devils, sending 5 to nationals. Josh and Matt Feinsilver both utilizing their red shirt. Mitch and Zach Feinsilver graduated. So in the end, all of a sudden, a crowded wrestling room, and you have the young sophomore Ben Anderson for Glenn Lanham hoping to keep the torch lit.
And that's why Coach Lanham is excited about the future at Duke. They have a great recruiting class coming in. They have guys coming off a red shirt. They will return, and they will be competitive like they have been for years in the past. Sean, both of these guys have shown offense in the first period. They just haven't been able to finish.
High crotch, switch to a double by Anderson. And for the first time tonight, Duke has a lead in a match.
That was smooth. Lefty high crotch, came around, finished with a double. You start with one leg, get two legs, and you get control. Now he's got the double boots in and trying to put some pressure on the shoulders and the back of Fields.
Yeah, driving that elbow, and when Anderson sticks that elbow in the back of your neck, those powerful arms, you're going to feel it. That's not a pleasant sensation underneath. What would you like to see Anderson do in this top position winding down the period?
Well, he's got to keep moving, because if you don't move, the official may say no one can improve, and it could be a stalemate situation. But right now, he's moving, he's trying to get wrist control, getting from one side to the other, so he's doing enough to stay effective and accumulate the riding time. The official called a stalemate, says that no one can improve from there. And so this was very helpful to Fields because now he has a fresh start.
Go ahead, Rock.
You'll see that stalemates, although it says that no guy or no individual is improving, but in many instances, a stalemate can be very advantageous to one of the wrestlers. And just like that, Fields is back into a fight with the legs.
I was just going to say, short time wrestling really important for Fields to keep that leg from getting in, and he could not do it. Right off the whistle, it was Anderson sticking that big foot in.
So what was so good about this? It was a smooth high C, got one leg, cut the corner. That is textbook. That is a great shot, finish, and went right to an armbar.
Fields not wanting to mess with riding Anderson, so he cuts him 3-1. Ben Anderson on top.
Now Fields has got to pick it up a little bit because of riding time. Riding time means that an extra point is given to the individual that has more than 1 minute of control. That's that green rectangle at the bottom. So in essence, Fields has to eliminate 36 seconds and take down Anderson.
The psyche and the mentality of Ben Anderson is so important. Last year, when you look at his run, he entered the ACCs on a 7-match losing skid. And then in one day, he got hot. Then he continued that in Pittsburgh at the NCAAs. He picked up a fall at Nationals. So he's that dangerous. Stall call tag to Fields. And then Anderson, like we see so many times in this sport, comes right in for the 2.
He earned a stall call, defended the shot, did what's called chasing and following and getting behind, got the takedown, and he's looking really solid and trying to get Duke on the board. Doing enough, just popping from side to side, controlling the wrist, looking at, I mean, look at this, moving from one side to the next side. Has a claw on the left side, and then he pops to the other side. This is just good, solid control wrestling.
Ben Anderson showing us some of his strength. He won a Utah State powerlifting championship during his high school career. And unlike last year, to close out the regular season, he has some momentum back. Glenn Lanham talked about he wants to see the swagger back in the steps of Ben Anderson as he heads to the ACCs in a couple of weeks. I don't know, Rock, it looks like that swagger might be back for the young sophomore from Pleasant Grove.
Beautiful high crotch, fights it, gets the takedown, and puts Duke on the board.
All Access with Carolina basketball continues Monday at 8 p.m. right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. Your All Access Pass delivers never-before-seen sights and sounds from UNC practices, workouts, games, and other team-related activities. Few signatures on that old bowl cap, and there's been some good ones to go through the NC State wrestling room over the past 8 years since Pat Popolizio took over this program and has just lit a fire in Raleigh for the sport of wrestling. Quick 2-on-1 being executed momentarily there by Tyler Barnes. Barnes in there for Daniel Bullard, who's been given the night off. Mason Eaglin nearly blew a tire as he went down, but he recovered quickly. Look at the attack by Barnes, constantly on the hunt. Barnes elevates that leg. No points yet. And that should be 2. No, out of bounds they go.
Wow.
So Rock, why no 2 there? And here comes the challenge from Popolizio.
Good challenge. Good challenge. That's a good challenge. I'll say that's a good challenge. But what was even more impressive was Barnes. You talk about chain wrestling. He went from one to the next, tried to finish. That was good wrestling. So here it is. He got to a high C. He starts to lower the leg or run the pipe. Looks like he's trying to get around. And we're going to see, does his feet stay in while he has control? From that scenario, it looked like there was some type of control, but there is reaction time. The only time there is no reaction time is when it's rear standing and a hand touch. In that scenario, since his hip came to the mat, there could be reaction time. And the official may look to say, I don't think control was established because he has an opportunity to react. So now it's a judgment call. Does the official think that there was a reaction time because it wasn't a hand touch scenario?
So a lot to look at and digest for the 2 officials, and they have reached their decision. No points. Each team has lost their challenge.
Apparently, and evidently, the official believed that control was not established. But one thing that doesn't matter, doesn't stop Barnes' motor. He's still coming.
You aren't kidding. He has just come out flying. Barnes, 16-9 this year out of Rock City Falls, New York.
You know, and this is what you do. When you get an opportunity to wrestle, you want to show your coach that you will perform. You're not going to go tentative. You're going to go out there and create environments and situations to score. And Barnes is doing that. He's saying, Coach, you give me a shot, I'm going to keep coming.
He was a highly decorated wrestler. The Northeast has been a steady area for Pat Popolizio. Remember, he was the Binghamton head coach, and he built a lot of connections in that neighborhood. And one of those was Barnes, as we talked about, the New York State product. Had a stretch where he won 87 straight matches in high school, over 220 career wins.
You know what? I'd be a little intimidated if I wrestled someone that has a Grim Reaper on their left calf.
Be a little spooky. Looks like Mason Eaglin has weathered the storm, and we've been talking so much Barnes because he's been on the offensive. Again, that Russian tie. Eaglin able to break away from it, but Mason Eaglin has been the leader, the most consistent wrestler without a doubt this year from start to finish for the Blue Devils, and he's only a freshman. Redshirt freshman from Port Orchard. Sound familiar? It's the same city Connor Hartman grew up in. Hartman, one of the more decorated Duke wrestlers in the history of the program. Action toward the edge, and out of bounds they go.
Looks like Barnes slowed down a little bit. Either he's realizing he has to be more deliberate in his attacks, or he's getting tired. And to your point, it looks like Eaglin has weathered the storm. He's starting to get control, staying in the center of the mat.
Flurry of activity from Tyler Barnes, and there is Mason Eaglin, Port Orchard, Washington, Connor Hartman, Duke's most decorated wrestler. He was a 4-time NCAA qualifier, a 3-time All-American. And the Eaglin family obviously following Connor, and Hartman had nothing but high praise about wrestling in the Duke singlet. So we actually will see a couple of city connections, Port Orchard, Washington, and then coming up at 84 with Kai Blake. He's from Greenwood Village. That's the home of the 4 Fine Silvers. It's pretty common, Rock. You have a positive experience with a wrestler from a city, word spreads, and all of a sudden, before you know it, you have a steady stream of athletes coming to your program.
Not just for the schools, but also families. When someone has a positive experience, family or just at a school, they talk. And you want people talking about positive experiences at your school. And obviously Duke and NC State has benefited with positive experiences with wrestlers from the same school and from the same family.
1-0 Eaglin with the escape in this period. Halfway through second period, Wolfpack in control in the team score. Upper right-hand corner, 26-3.
And it seemed like Eaglin has gotten back to where he's feeling out how he wants to control the match. And Barnes has not shot nowhere near as much as he did in the first 2 minutes in the first period.
One thing we really haven't seen from Eaglin yet is offense, and just as I say that, he fires in low. He was just picking his moment. Scramble as Barnes tries to recover.
Now you got to get height here.
That's what Eaglin was able to do. So there's that offense. He was just patient, waiting for his opportunity, and see if he can ride out the final 8 seconds. It's going to have to come on a fresh start into the center.
Not sure what happened here. I didn't see a signal from the official. But you're right, it's a restart nonetheless.
And that's a good whistle if you're Tyler Barnes. You want that fresh start. I think you might have to add a couple more seconds to the clock as well.
That's probably why I didn't see a signal, because there's something with the clock, and they're trying to straighten it out.
They actually only add an additional second. So now a whistle, but not the explosive start underneath by Barnes. And Eaglin will ride to the third period, leading 3-0.
Well, we're going to see right here. Now, we saw that Barnes had a straight, aggressive first period, and he's started to slow down a little bit. So let's see if Eaglin will keep the pressure on him, and if Barnes can find that energy that he did in the first period. And we want to pay attention to the riding time. One takedown match. Let's see what happens. Let's see if Barnes can find that fire, or is Eaglin going to keep firing through? Nice double. Going right back to it. Didn't give chance for Barnes to even catch his breath.
Did you see how low he was? A submarine double by Eaglin launching. Mason Eaglin, one of the captains, despite being a freshman, has had to mature a lot quicker than other freshmen across the country.
And when you said the great word, you said maturity. Maturity says, I've weathered the storm. I know what it's like. When you first come to the college wrestling world, you don't know how to weather a storm. But the more you wrestle, the more battles you've been in, you understand that I want to stick to my position, keep a good stance, and then keep working to the point he earned a stall call against Barnes. He's really turning it on for the home crowd here.
Conversation with Glenn Lanham earlier this year. We talked about the similarities. We talked Port Orchard and the home of Connor Hartman. We said, well, what are these two like on the mat, off the mat? Do they have similar personalities? And says, yeah, you know, they really do. Both very even-keeled, nothing affects. Talking Connor Hartman and Mason Eaglin, very grounded. that even keel approach by Eaglin, despite a frenzied attack off the whistle early in this one by Barnes. Never rattled him. Barnes off the whistle here, able to get in deep on a low shot, but it won't be enough. And the Duke Blue Devils have picked up back-to-back wins like they did a week ago. And Glenn Lanham talked about the fight. I want to see some fight from our guys. The redshirt freshman certainly did that.
74-pounder lowers the shot, drives through, and gets the takedown. Duke has a little momentum. Come on back and see us. See what happens next.
With the NCAA championships less than a month away, some of the news and notes from across the country. Two unbeatens. The one team we're watching here tonight, NC State. The other in the Midwest. Top-ranked Iowa looking to go perfect as they welcome John Smith and ninth-ranked Oklahoma State. Speaking of unbeaten, the number one heavyweight is Gable Stevenson of Minnesota. The Gophers hosting Nebraska as we speak over on ESPNU. But the biggest news of the day, two-time NCAA champion Zahid Valencia has been suspended indefinitely. A statement from the Arizona State Athletic Department making that announcement earlier today. Valencia reportedly failed a drug test on January 18th at an international meet in Rome. Sources report that Valencia tested positive for a recreational drug, not a performance-enhancing drug. So Valencia bumping up a weight to 184. That obviously impacts the rest of the field, in particular Trent Hidley. And now the redshirt freshman going to work. But Rock, with the Valencia news, and we don't know where that's going to go, but you start to look at an NCAA field with him and an NCAA field without him, and that's going to impact a couple of our ACC wrestlers possibly.
Well, you have the consensus number 2 in Hunter Bolin from Virginia Tech, and then your number 3 ranked Trent Hidley. It certainly opens up what they believe is an opportunity not just to get to the finals, but now to really win, because Zahid Valencia was a presumptive national champion. Everybody believed that he was going to win the national championship, but at this point, it could be a position where these guys have an opportunity not just to get to the finals, but without Zahid, it increases their chances to possibly win the national championship. But we'll see.
What'd you take away from the Hidley Virginia Tech match, Bolin, last week? Bolin winning by a score of 3-1. What did you notice from Hidley, and what is he going to have to change up if those two meet in Pittsburgh at the ACC championships?
He has to take a page from his brother's book and diversify his attack, because he continued to try and get the underhook, and it just, Hunter Bolin just stayed so solid, so composed, he just couldn't get his offense going. So now, if he wants to, got him on his back, and he's getting a swipe. So we're saying that he's got to diversify the offense, because the more you wrestle, the more film is out against you. And so when guys can see that this is what you do, your tendencies, they'll scout you, and then they'll defend it. And so you have to keep evolving as a performer. And that's what he has to do. He can win. He just has to make sure he creates other ways of scoring besides the underhook.
You look at the 3 losses this year for Hidley in his redshirt freshman campaign. One of those losses was to Valencia, and it was the championship in Vegas at the Keene Invitational. Valencia won by major decision, 12-4. He also lost to Lou Deprez of Binghamton, who's ranked number 6. And then last Friday night, the tight one to Bolin.
You know what, Sean? Not just on an individual basis that Zahid Valencia's situation can affect individual wrestlers, but certainly from a team race. Because Arizona State ranked 5th in the country, and they certainly have the power and potential to get a trophy, which is top 4. But if they don't have a point getter like Zahid Valencia, then teams like NC State, UNC, Virginia Tech, and even Pittsburgh could have a great showing and then get to the point where they have a trophy. So it's not on an individual basis, but also on a team race as well.
Yeah, what a job this year in the desert by Zeke Jones. I think a lot of people knew that this was the year Jones had put together, hoping to give the Sun Devils a chance at coming away with a team trophy. The top 5 in this weight, Valencia, Bolin, Hidley, Lujan of UNI, and then there is DePrez of Binghamton.
Interesting on Trent Hiley position. He was looking behind to see where Blake would line up. And when he does that, it looks like he's going to turn right into. Good shot by Blake. That was a clean high C. But good defense by Hiley to defend it, but really clean shot.
Hiley comes right back at him. Double-digit points already early in this second period.
Looking to do more as a freestyle turn here. Hooking the ankle. And looking for perhaps a bow. I was really impressed with Blake's shot there. He just couldn't finish it, but he got in deep.
Kai Blake is a true freshman, Greenwood Village, Colorado. Yes, Cherry Creek High School, the home of the Fine Silvers. And this is a weight that normally would be occupied by Caden Russell. Hidley getting the 4 points. Once this is broken, that'll push it up to a tech fall. And there it is. Very business-like performance by Trent Hidley, and the Wolfpack fans showing their appreciation.
Great job by Trent Hidley. Workman-like performance. Got the fans on their feet at Duke. Really good shot. Effort by Kai to keep fighting, but it was just overpowered by Trent Hidley, who was having a dominant redshirt freshman season, getting the tech fall and putting NC State back on top.
Tonight at 9 p.m., the Follically Challenge. Jay Billis, LaFonso Ellis, and Seth Greenberg host Baldwin on campus. The Baldwin preview the weekend's ACC slate of games and have the latest news from around the conference. A lot of eyes on the Wolfpack as NC State continues to rotate some new names in. At 197, it is Jacob Ferreira. He's a sophomore, Mount Kisco, New York. Transfer from Bucknell. This is his first year in Raleigh. A weight class that NC State was originally thinking it was going to be Nick Reenan. Reenan, the two-time NCAA qualifier, but just hasn't been Reenan's season. And he has been banged up, which really has been an issue with Nick. When he's healthy, he's as good as they come in the ACC at this weight, but he just has not been able to get healthy this year. And so, as a result, the Wolfpack looking at a couple of options, Tyree Houghton or Jacob Ferreira, and it looks like it is going to be Houghton who gets the nod. We thought maybe Ferreira, but as we look down there, it is Houghton. So Tyree Houghton at 10-8, lost by fall in 18 seconds a week ago to Stanley Smeltzer. Houghton gets the nod, the sophomore from Weddington.
Let's just see how he responds. A very disheartening loss last week, but wrestling's one of the sports you got to have a short memory, and keep working.
Look at North Carolina State and what they're in a position to do. They are looking to complete their first ever undefeated season in school history. And, you know, it's not even the best start in program history. They went 21-0 back in 2015 and 16, but in the final weekend of the year, they lost to Virginia Tech and then beat fifth-ranked Missouri. 2 for Duke as Vincent Baker fires the opening salvo.
Another clean high C, or what people call a high crotch. And you saw it at 84, now you're seeing it at 97. Looks like that's something that they work on in the upper weights.
Baker, a highly decorated wrestler from the state of Georgia. And what makes Vincent Baker at least intriguing to me on paper, he was a Triple Crown winner in the state of Georgia, showing off his versatility. One of 2 Georgia wrestlers to capture the Triple Crown. And we talk Triple Crown, you're talking the 3 styles of wrestling, not just the folk style, which is utilized at college, but also the international side with both freestyle and Greco-Roman.
And each style has ways to make you a better wrestler. When you look at folk style wrestling, it's all about control. When you think about Greco, it's about using your hips and upper bodies. And in freestyle, you want to understand positioning. You put those elements together, you're going to have a well-diversified wrestler. That's why summer wrestling is so important, because it teaches you those things that you don't necessarily see and do too much in folk style.
Forehead to forehead, Houghton giving a chug on the 2 arms. He had the wrist, comes in, caught by Baker. Baker trying to slip the right arm in on a possible underhook, but doesn't have a lot of leverage to work with that. The period is.
As we said before, just like at 84, Baker goes in with a high, went to a double, and then he went, lowered the hips, or what's called running the pipe, and was looking for back points right there. Good, clean wrestling from his feet.
A little bit of blood, that means some time to talk. Glenn Lanham working with his guy while Houghton gets patched up.
And in college, when someone bleeds, it's unlimited time. It's to the discretion of the officials. In high school, it's 5 minutes, but in college, it's you can go on and go on and go on. And in my years of watching wrestling, I've never seen a match stop and someone not being able to continue because of blood on a college level.
Baker working hard underneath. He's trying to get the switch for the reversal if he can clear his left leg, and he just keeps circling for 2. Nicely done by Vincent Baker.
Really good job. He went to a switch, and then he lifted the leg and kept scooting around to get the reversal. 4-1. Good start to the second period for Baker.
Baker, with the success he had in high school that we talked about, he was recruited by a number of schools, Princeton, Purdue, Navy, all showing interest. Bucknell, Columbia. He's a very bright young man, and he's showing off his offense now. He has it all working. 2 more toward the edge of the mat.
He is showing off right here. He's just going at it, and he's finishing. It looks like he's just ready. Regardless of the score, down 31-6, doesn't matter. And that's what's so great about wrestling. Even though it's a team sport, it's so much an individual sport. So your team may not be doing what you want them to do, but that doesn't mean that you can't wrestle hard and continue to compete at the best level.
Houghton's going to have to show what he's made of. He does not have any momentum on his side right now. Baker with a 6-3 lead, approaching the halfway point of this second period.
Now, Hart has to be careful. He's shot a few times a double, but he's kept his head up. And if he keeps his head up, Baker could throw a headlock or pancake, but he just got to make sure he still creates some opportunities to shoot. So he's just got to move a little bit. He's still just staying straight up.
Trying to stuff the head. Baker working hard to make sure his neck and head stay clear. Not allowing Houghton to get into that tie-up or setup that he wants. This is going to be a pretty fun third period.
Well, you're right about that.
I don't know, Rock. It just looked like Houghton discovered something late there. His energy level, his feet movement, just seemed like he was a little bit of a different wrestler than what we saw for the first 4 minutes.
And that's why you have a situation where guys can wrestle 3 people. Ooh, a little high.
Well, that was a free roller coaster ride for Vincent Baker. Went right down the back, and then Baker comes in, leading 6-4. He has Houghton in a sit position, trying to split the legs.
split the legs again, and got to get to height. You can't stay on the mat. So at this point, the wrestler with the height is going to win. But Baker's holding on to that ankle for dear life. Good scramble, good wrestling right here. An action call by the official on their feet. Sean, you're right. We got a good third period here.
And I think this Wolfpack crowd, Pat Papalizio, who's on the edge of the mat, I think they're sensing what we did, that Houghton seems to be re-energized, and he is the one coming in, and maybe Baker a little bit on his heels now.
Baker's got to lift the hip and try to lace the ankle or hook the ankle and get behind. But right now, looks like Houghton with the takedown. Oh, we got a tied match. Third period, 1 minute left. This is good wrestling.
Riding time is not a factor. And it will not be a factor as you look at Baker's time dwindle down. So advantage Vincent Baker here. He can be thinking underneath. Escape, escape. I need that one. He's up to his feet. Mat return delivered by the Wolfpack sophomore.
It is important that Baker do something because right now, Houghton has momentum. If he keeps him down, we're going to overtime. And overtime, you want momentum.
Does the true freshman have enough in the tank to get away? And he does. So now it's NC State. They need two. Quick switch toward the edge. Baker in a pretty good position back. And that right foot popped out.
Oh, wow.
We go back to the center with 4 seconds to go.
4 seconds left. The referee's got to get in position because we don't want what's called a rolling star jumping the whistle.
And Duke wins another. For the second straight duel, the Blue Devils pick up their third win. Glenn Lanham, calm and composed, but I bet on the inside he is a little excited from what he just saw. A strong start, and Baker had just enough in the tank to hang on.
And that's what Coach wants. He says, give me the fight. Fight. I know we have a tough season, but keep fighting. And Baker fought and won.
For the third consecutive year, the trophy is heading back to Raleigh. Only this year, it is NC State's outright. They are not sharing it. North Carolina State, champions of the regular season, Pat Papalizio, will look now to capture the ACC championship in a couple of weeks. On March 8th, we'll have all the matches. First round on ACC Network Extra, the semis, consolation semis, and then the consolation finals. And we're on the ACC Network primetime for the championship. It's going to be a lot of fun. Steel City's fired up to host once again. Last time we were there, 2015, inside the Peterson Event Center. That's the year Steve Garland and Virginia brought home the ACC title. It's a second season you know about, Rock. You competed in this conference. You put the regular season behind you and you take it up a couple of notches once the ACCs get here.
And in 2015, when Virginia won in Pittsburgh, they weren't supposed to. So even though we're talking about NC State and Virginia Tech and UNC as the favorites, you just don't know what's going to happen when it's tournament time. And perhaps Pittsburgh can sneak in there. They have the home crowd, and they can make it a very competitive tournament. So you got to watch. You got to watch.
Speaking of when you look at talking about guys that have emerged this year and really came out of nowhere, I think NC State's heavyweight Deontay Wilson will be one of those guys right now. The sophomore out of Amityville, New York, has been the hero the last couple of weeks. He beat Andrew Gunning in a seal-it win against North Carolina a couple of weeks ago. Last week, he's become a crowd favorite. He beat Borst to Virginia Tech. It was a late takedown in the third period. And a weight class for NC State that started with Gwizdowski a few years back, Nick Gwizdowski, who followed his coach Papalizio to Raleigh and proved that you can win a national championship at NC State. in the heavyweight division and really the upper weights with what Machiavello was able to do a couple of years. That has been a mainstay.
And one of the things that NC State does well, they're able to take guys that aren't the blue chippers, but that are solid wrestlers, and develop them into very good wrestlers. And we're seeing a progression of that happen with Deontay Wilson.
He was his high school's first state champion his senior year. Amityville Memorial, upstate New York.
I'm sure NC State, they're excited. They have 2 more years of this guy, Deontay Wilson. He's doing well.
And don't you think he's going to fill out in the upper half as he gets older? Look at his legs. They are tree trunks.
He's moving forward, and he just earned a stall call.
He's pushing the pace on Jonah Niesenbaum. Niesenbaum's a true freshman from Allentown. We talk about the new era of the heavyweight. Athletic, quick, dynamic. Niesenbaum starred on the high school hockey team. He was the captain and most valuable player. I don't know about you, but I've seen this guy coming at me when I'm near the glass looking to finish off a check. I'm bailing. That's a scary thought right there.
You're right about that.
That's a big hockey player. Might not have the height of a Zdeno Chara, but he has the bulk. And he goes into position on top. This Duke heavyweight slot has been interesting. Ben Fry was a dual sport participant. He decided to come out. Lynn Lanham had been talking to him. Fry was looking good. Plays football in the fall, coming off a knee injury a couple of years ago, but then he got injured a couple of weeks back. You saw the wrestle off with Niesenbaum and Fry earlier in the Duke wrestling room a couple weeks back. But another area that they'll be looking to seize up next season.
Niesenbaum has to fire off a shot. If not, he already has 1 stall call against him, and all he needs to do is just take a little half shot to at least look like you're attempting some offense. Because right now, it looks like Wilson is the one that's controlling the center of the mat. But one of the things that you have to there's a stall call. 1 point for Wilson, and he's just showing the aggression. And he got another stall call for the back out. So now it's 2-1 for 2-0.
The next time, if there is another stall call, it will be worth 2. That was one of the rule changes coming in to this season. You are verbally warned. The next 2 times it's a point like we've seen. The next time it's 2.
It's actually 3-0.
So a 3-0 lead for Deontay Wilson, the sophomore, late in this second period. And the common denominator watching him as he comes in on that double, let's see if he can finish near the edge. Short time wrestling, trying to get a lift, and he gets the 2! Oh my!
Edge of the mat wrestling right there. He gets in, gets his hips low, and pops his hip, and gets around to looks like a takedown. However, the officials want to confirm that the takedown was there. So while they awarded the takedown, they are going to look to see if, in fact, time had not expired by the time control was established with the takedown.
And that's what was so impressive about what we just saw. He did that in a lightning blast 4-second sequence where he lifted a 235-pound man, brought him back to the mat in 4 seconds. The power and the explosion that has Pat Popolizio pretty excited about his heavyweight.
And moreover, he kept wrestling. He didn't say it's just the end of the period. Let me start fresh in the third period. he kept wrestling, and that's what you want, not just from a heavyweight, but from all your wrestlers. So even if he doesn't get the takedown, that's just a good sign that my heavyweight is going to keep fighting, and he's going to need that fight when he gets to the ACC championships and you wrestle someone like Demetrius from Pitt.
And going back to my point, the common denominator with Wilson, he has been tough to score on these last couple of weeks. Decision reached, and I thought this was going to stick, and it does. 2 points. He gave up just the 2 to Gunning, only gave up the escape to Boris last week, so wrestlers in the ACC having a tough time figuring out his armor right now.
And one of the things that he does well is when you shoot in on Deontay Wilson, he's very good at what's called a go-behind, where literally you start in front of the person and you go behind them. So you have to be careful shooting in on Deontay. And Wilson is moving well. I mean, he's getting on one side, the other side, and accumulating a riding time. And as we talked about this earlier, that these matches mean something, not just because they want to win the Dual Meet Championship, but you got to know how to close out a match. Close out a match for the ACC tournament. Close out a match for the NCAA championships. So you want to make sure that your body and your mind is prepared for those mentally tough matches and closing it out on top. Niesebaum gets the escape. Let's see if he can create some offense as this third period winds down.
Tried to change levels. Wilson says, I'm not falling for that. And he's just going to patiently curl his way around to the corner and get the 2.
That's what we were talking about before, the go behind. There was a shot by Duke, and then Wilson went behind and got the takedown. You got to be careful shooting in on Deontay Wilson.
Big, powerful hands wrapped around the wrist. He had the baseball grip underneath with Niesebaum. Still has the wrist there. Niesebaum able to clear them out. He will ride this out. And Deontay Wilson going to be a wreck. He is going to be somebody you have to be ready to wreck him with at Pitt, because he is bringing it all. And you mentioned the talented Panther heavyweight, Demetrius Thomas. That could be a potential showdown with those 2. And with that win, North Carolina State, for the first time ever, completes an undefeated dual season. Congratulations to Pat Popolizio and this staff. Program that started back in 1925. Plenty to smile if you're in Raleigh. We'll hear from Coach Popolizio when we return. NC State rolls by Duke.
Pat, I don't think he had the career he wanted. I think he recognized as an athlete, maybe he had too many things that he worried about. But in the end, I think that's all just kind of helped him mature as a coach, just really become who he wants to become. But for Pat, he's done a nice job of managing what I've seen, just managing his program. And he's put a lot of good people around him that's made a difference in the outcome. He's built something that wasn't there before. I shouldn't say it wasn't there before. I just say it wasn't like it is now. It's exciting. It's exciting to see his success. Exciting to see that he's fighting for recruits, and it's exciting to see that he's fighting for trophies.
High praise from one of the true legends in the sport of wrestling, John Smith. He coached Pat Popolizio, and now Coach Pop, as he's referred to around Raleigh, celebrating your 3rd consecutive ACC regular season title. What's that mean to hear your former coach talk about you in such high praise?
I was going to say, I recognize that voice. It means a lot. He's obviously a big mentor to me and a lot of other athletes, and when you can be one of the best